So overall, so you still have in your models a split toward the Bills, right? You still think that
Look, the Chiefs were not impressive by advanced stats this year. I mean, all those ridiculous close wins, the Raiders fumbling at the end of the game and everything.
Black field goals.
If you look at the weighted DVOA that's weighted towards recent games, and you take out Week 18,
yes,
where neither team tried, we have the Bills would be second, and the Chiefs would be seventh.
Okay. Was one Baltimore?
One would still be Baltimore. Yeah.
Baltimore. Okay, that's what I thought. And you had that Baltimore's offense as one of the best ever, right?
We had Baltimore's offense as the fourth best ever. Yeah.
Wow.
It's really interesting. This is 3 Baltimore teams now that have come out among the best teams ever in my stats. And I don't like that none of them made the Super Bowl. But there's no easy fix to this because each of the 3 Baltimore teams had different strengths and weaknesses. So you can't be anything that's going to take the 24 Ravens and drop them is going to take the 23 Ravens or the 19 Ravens and raise them. Like there's no magic bullet that lowers all 3 Ravens teams. It's kind of complicated.
Yeah, that's always been an interesting thing. And the Bills have been a little bit of that too, right? In some ways.
Yeah, the Bills 2 years ago also are one of the top DVOA teams of all time, and they lost in the playoffs.
So they got some similarities.
Recently, a lot of these top teams have not made it. It's really funny. Like I designed the stat based on this century, but now that I have the data that goes back to the 70s, oh my God, the top team won the Super Bowl so much more often in the 80s and 90s than they do now.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's
from
really
like 88 to 99. The Super Bowl winner is either first or second in DVOA every year. And yet for the last decade, they've almost all been like 3, 4, or 5. Like so the top 2 teams never win the championship.
So when you say that the Ravens are the 4th best team ever, according to your metrics, when was the first year that these numbers started to get calculated?
Since 78.
Wow. Okay. So
that I now have going back to 1978. Going back to 1978, they had the 4th highest offense and the 3rd highest offense in a full season because one of the offenses ahead of them is 1982 Chargers.
Wow. So that makes Sunday's win even that much more impressive, right? For the Bills.
Yeah. Especially that was a great
defense against their offense and physicality.
Look, I'm not like kicking myself just because my number 1 team lost to the number 4 team on the road by 2 points. But that was a very impressive win for the Bills. Yeah.
Did that boost them overall for the season with that one win? Are the Bills now 2? Is that right?
Yeah, they're 2 in the weighted that weights towards more recent games. If you look at the full season, if Philly, I think would be 2. But if you weight more towards recent games, because the Eagles had the games where Hurts was not playing and their offense was not as good.
I want to be in the 3, 4, or 5 range though. That seems to be the common trend. Yeah. So when you look at the Chiefs, and they're so interesting, they've won 11 straight one-score games. What is it, Kevin? 15 back to last year?
It's
16. That can't be. That's got to be an anomaly. Is that? Can you
it's
quantify
a crazy,
that?
Ridiculous anomaly.
Okay, for anybody, whether it's Andy Reid, Josh Allen,
I fully agree with the fact that they know how to win close games, and some of these one-score games are only one-score games because the other team scores at the end of the game with no chance to score again.
Yeah.
Right. So they're really 2-score games, or the Chiefs finish the game on the opposing 13-yard line or something. Right. Like where that they could have scored again if there had just been another 30 seconds in the game, but there was no reason for them to because they had won the game.
Right.
But then you have stuff like the block kick against the Broncos and the biggest BS nonsense, which was the Raiders fumbling the snap. I mean, that was so ridiculously lucky. But they've played better. The thing is, the Chiefs have played better in recent weeks. If you take out Week 18, where it was embarrassing how bad their backups were. So they've played better. And I think, if you consider home field advantage and you consider the Mahomes magic and that they've played better in recent weeks, it's a pretty even 50-50 matchup, even though the Bills were the better team. I feel like a lot of people are going to pick the Chiefs in this game because they don't want to look bad if the Chiefs win. Because if the Chiefs win, it's like, how did you ever pick against Mahomes? What was wrong with you? Whereas if the Bills win and you picked the Chiefs, all you have to do is say, well, I wouldn't pick against Mahomes, right? But I mean, the Bills were the better team during the season. The Bills were the better team during the season.
Yeah. That's
So, Aaron, I was looking into some stats today, and I realized that the Bills have scored more than 30 points 10 times this season, including the postseason, and the Chiefs have yet to do so.
To do it.
They've scored 30 points twice, but they haven't scored more than 30 points. And they've been held to under 25 times. Now, one of those was that Week 18 game, so we can exclude that. But I just don't understand how this team was 15-2. It just doesn't seem to add up. And I got to get the elephant out of the room now. With the officiating, and there's been all these stats and numbers that have been coming out saying that the Chiefs have been favored by maybe I shouldn't say favored, but the numbers support the Chiefs in terms of officiating. Do you have any numbers or analytics that back that up?
Because the Warren Sharp topic.
The Chiefs were like average in penalties this year, and they were above average in opposing penalties, right? But nothing like the Vikings. Like if you determine whether the league is rigging things for a team based simply on penalties versus opponent penalties, my God, was the league rigging things for the Vikings this year? I mean, but they weren't. It's just random. Like we notice it with the Chiefs. Okay, so here's the two things that are true. One, home teams, more penalties are called on road teams. Like even if you take false starts out of it. Two, superstars get the benefit of the doubt in every sport. But it's not, I'm very much a believer. There is no rigging things for the Chiefs. I don't even think that the officials don't want the Chiefs to win even subconsciously, other than just the normal home field advantage subconscious, which is a subconscious thing that happens to all officials in every sport. So I know I've seen all the memes out there. The Bills are not playing against the refs. The Bills are just playing against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think what fueled the fire though is Warren Sharp's. What was it? Their +9 and games that they've been favored in terms of total penalties. They're +9. Every other team's neutral.
Like someone said, at the end of close games. I actually looked at it earlier this season, and the Chiefs have the same number of penalties as their opponents in the second half of close games. So when the chips are down, it just so happens that the Chiefs have had a lot of penalties called in their games when the chips are down on both teams, on both them and their opponents.
And then obviously you really exacerbate the bad personal fouls that makes it seem like everything else is bad.
Yeah, and Mahomes is whiny.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it makes it worse because you see him whining for the pet. There's so many guys in the league whine for flags now, but he's pretty whiny.
Yeah, and you got the Bills who won on his biggest whiniest moment 2 years ago in the regular season with the offside on Kadarius Toney, where Mahomes went crazy like the Houston Texans did at the postgame, and we forget about that. But ultimately, bad calls happen for everybody. You had a bad holding against the Bills this week in the Ravens. You had a questionable DPI on Trey White.
You had a bad holding and a bad DPI call against the Ravens.
And other than that, they were neutral.
Cancel each other out.
Yeah. And other than that, they did the holding to absolutely kill the drive. And then the DPI absolutely gave the Bills from 3 to 4 extra points. So, so you see that ultimately that difference there. But as you see different ways to look at this game, and I think you said I was looking at your Super Bowl matchups. You have the number one Super Bowl matchup as the LaShawn McCoy Bowl.
Yes, because I have what you think. The DVOA has the Chiefs favored. I think the
Bills and Eagles.
The Bills win it 51% of the simulations, and the Chiefs 49%, as opposed to the other one, which is 67 to 33.
Do you think real briefly? Do you think the Eagles take or just the Washington defense isn't very good to me?
I'm not like. It won't be a complete shock if Washington wins, but it's very clear of the 4 teams left, the weakest unit is the Washington defense.
Yeah. Okay. I think so too. That makes perfect sense. What's your overall opinion of this game? From a Bills perspective, do you think, unbiasedly, do you think the Bills have a good shot in this one? Are you looking at it like that nation or what?
I feel like it's
the
really
Bills
50-50.
win. You think so?
I feel like it's really 50-50.
Yeah. A lot of people feel like that.
And, I know it's not, it would be better to be favored, but I'm not going to fall into the trap of just because the Chiefs have won a lot of games in the past. The team I've been comparing to them to a lot is the 1990 49ers. Okay. The 1990 49ers also were coming after 2 titles, won a lot of close games to have a really good record. They started 10-0. won big in the divisional round, and then lost in the conference championship to the Giants, who were the better team by DVOA that year. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that the same thing's going to happen to the Chiefs. But, I mean, another example is I'm a Patriots fan. 2006, AFC Championship game against the Colts. Colts can't beat the Patriots. Patriots are winning 21-6 at halftime. It's in the bag, right? Colts came back. Peyton Manning finally gets to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like it just because the Chiefs have won all these games in the playoffs in the past doesn't mean they're going to this time.
Yeah, that's something that Bills fans even now. From what's your perspective? Just take the analytics out of it. Would it be cool to see a Chiefs three-peat? Do you think it'll be cool to see the Bills' first title?
Oh, I'm not hiding it. I would much rather see the Buffalo fans get it
than the three-peat.
I was rooting for the Buffalo Detroit Super Bowl, and I don't want to see the three-peat. Not because I'm a Patriots fan and the Patriots didn't do it,
right?
Just because I'm a big fan of having new fan bases get championships. And, Buffalo, Washington hasn't been back since 1991, but they do have 3 titles. So, I don't really have a dog in the fight in the NFC, but I'd rather see the Buffalo fans finally get one than to see the Chiefs get a 4th.
Yeah.
Well, 5th, including
right.
The Super Bowl 4.
Would you consider them, if they do get it though, with considering the Patriots, would you consider this the best era ever with 3 in a row, 7 straight AFC Championship games?
Yeah,
5
in
Super
results,
Bowls?
in the quality of the regular seasons, it's not, but in the quality of the playoffs, yes. And this is the best era. This would be the best era ever.
That's interesting. It's an interesting perspective.
Although those 92 to 95 Cowboys.
Yeah.
Right. 3 titles and they lose to a really good 49ers team in 1 conference championship. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And as the NFC opponents, do you think the Bills, let's say the Bills are able to win and, they do come across this game.
Oh, you'd rather play Washington than.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, McDermott's right. I mean, it may not be anything, but McDermott against rookie quarterbacks too is just, the stats are just insane. With what he's been able to do.
It's just the Washington defense. You want to play the Washington defense. Philly has the best defense in the league. Washington has a below average defense. You want to play the Washington
take your pick. take your pick which defense you want. How about offenses? Are they similar?
Washington's the better.
Is better. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. The better passing game. I mean, Philly has a better running game, but Washington has a better passing game. Daniels has had a pretty incredible rookie year. And also, this is not a stat thing, but just watching him, the dude is nails. Like, he is not affected by the pressure. I don't mean pass pressure. I mean pressure of the moment. It's pretty remarkable.
Aaron, so flipping it back to the Chiefs now, talking about the offense. So the Chiefs had the 17th overall offense. They were 14th in passing and 22nd in rushing. Now, I know Pacheco was out for the majority of the season, but what do your numbers have to say in comparison to that? Because I know you said that their numbers really weren't that favorable this year. So can you just kind of talk about the Chiefs offense from that perspective and maybe how it compares to other Kansas City seasons?
Yeah, I'm loading it up, but their offense was not as good as other recent seasons this year. They're 8th weighted if you take out week 18. And if I give you numbers for the full season, it's going to include week 18, and week 18 was BS. But the offense was not as good as it was. Even last year, when everybody felt like they didn't have good receivers, their offense was better than it was this year because Kelsey was not good. He was really good last week, but he was not good during the regular season.
No, he wasn't. And then also, they have major offensive line issues, like tackle issues. They're moving.
DVOA, and again, this includes week 18. We have Kansas City 11th passing and 12th running.
So a little better.
So they're probably a little bit higher than that if you take out week 18.
Yeah. They're always going to grade out better advanced analytics, Kevin, than say like box score numbers. But if you look at them offensive line, that's got to be the issue. I mean, Joe Tooney's playing left tackle. Like I like Joe Tooney.
Tackles, the right tackle is not good, and the left tackle was really not good for most of the season.
They moved their left guard there.
It's better with Tooney. He's better. And Caliendo's been all right, the new left guard. So they're better off now than when they had Wanya Morris in week 11.
Ooh, they've missed on that position a few times. What's your overall?
Everybody always thought Sumi Latea. Everybody thought he was a project, so it's not a shock that it turned out that he was a project.
Yeah. Do you think that there's like one part of this matchup, Casey, that you notice, whether it's, DVOA versus a different defensive, like different units, receiver one with a tight end, whatever? Is there anything that jumps out to you from the advanced side that could be key to the game?
the Chiefs' off running game is not good. I mean, they were last in explosive run rate, last in yards after contact, and last in missed tackle rate.
Yeah,
so
Pacheco's not right.
Even though in week 11 they had the better running game than the Bills did, in general, their running game has not been really great this year. The efficiency is good, but like there's no explosives at all.